Hi, this is Kiri from Kiri Made, and I'm doing a series of videos introducing non-weavers to weaving. Today I'm actually going to talk a little bit about how to think about designing woven cloth. So before you put your project on the loom, you have to figure out what you want to make, and then that sort of follows what are you going to make it out of, and then how are you going to create color or pattern in your woven cloth. So one technique that we use when thinking about designing a warp is you can actually take the yarn that you're going to use and wrap it around a little piece of paper and make these little thread wrappings. So there are some ideas there. Here are a few more that I did. And basically that's going to be the color that's going to be in your warp, and then you'll put a different weft in. So in addition to doing it with the yarn, you can also do things like use colored pencil or paint. And paint is actually really fun because with paint, you can kind of water down your paint and then use lines going the other direction, and that almost gives you an idea of what it will look like with a weft in there as well. So that was the painting that I did, and then, or those were the initial paintings that I did, and then I sort of did a final version, and you can see here are the yarns that I was planning on using. And then here is actually the finished piece. So that was what my little paintings, this was the tablecloth that I made with those ideas. On the other hand, so this type of designing is really all about the color, because you're creating stripes and essentially plaids, and that's your design element, is the color. But you might also be considering pattern as your primary element. So for instance, you can see here's, this is actually an overshot pattern, and you have several repeats, and so you have to think about how are you going to create that pattern by lifting the proper shafts. So here's another example of cloth that's primarily about a pattern. And so the way that we think about patterns in weaving is actually called drafting. And so this is just an example of a draft. And basically you have this up here, and this is 4 shafts. And so each little box represents one thread, and it tells you what shaft to put your thread on. And then this tie-up box here tells you which treadles, which are what you press on the floor, are tied to which shafts. And then finally, it also shows the treadle length. So that's basically, as you're weaving, what treadles are you pushing down? And as you can see here, with the same threading, you can do different treadlings, and then you get different patterns. So that's just a little introduction to how weavers think about designing their cloth. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, you can go to my blog, kirimade.com.